Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. On behalf of Mayor Adams and Police Commissioner Caban, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Police Academy for the New York City Police Department's annual Medal Day ceremony. At this time, I ask everyone to please rise for the entrance of this year's medal recipients. And now to begin, I ask that you please remain standing for the singing of the national anthem by Police Officer Jonathan Perez.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Officer Perez. Please remain standing for the invocation by Police Department Chief Chaplain, Rabbi Dr. Alvin Cass.
Almighty and eternal God, thou who controllest the destiny of all peoples and in whose hand lies the fate of all nations, great is thy beneficence in giving to our city the courageous police officers whom we honor here today. These stewards of the people, brave in peril, constant in tribulation, have actively and affirmatively put their lives in jeopardy for the sake of others. We will always treasure and appreciate those heroic officers who made the supreme sacrifice to make our city a better place in which to live. May their souls be bound up in the bond of everlasting life and may they find eternal rest beneath the wings of thy celestial glory. We pray also for those wounded in the performance of their duties. Do thou support them upon their bed of illness, that they may rise with greater strength and a stronger faith in thee. Finally, dear God, we beseech thee to watch over all of our police officers and keep them safe, and grant to Mayor Adams and Police Commissioner Caban continuing success in their unceasing efforts to make New York a place where people of every race, religion, color, and creed can pursue their individual destinies untrammeled, unafraid, and in obedience to thy will. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Cass. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. I'd like to thank the NYPD Band for their musical performance today. Thank you, guys. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the members seated on our dais. Please hold all your applause until all have been introduced. Starting in the first row on my right, Chief of Crime Control Strategies, Michael LePetri, Chief of Detectives, Joseph Kenny, Chief of Patrol, John Chell, the Chief of Staff, Raul Pintos, the Police Commissioner of the City of New York, the Honorable Edward Caban, the Mayor of the City of New York, the Honorable Eric Adams, the First Deputy Commissioner, Tanya Kinsella, Deputy Commissioner Operations, Kaz Daughtry, Deputy Commissioner Trials, Rosemary Maldonado, Deputy Commissioner Labor Relations, Edward Delatorre, Deputy Commissioner Collaborative Policing, Chauncey Parker, Deputy Commissioner Legal Matters, Michael Gerber. Seated in our second row, Commanding Officer Patrol Borough Queens South, Assistant Chief Kevin Williams, Chief of Transportation, Philip Rivera, Chief of Training, Lola Obey, Chief of Special Operations, Wilson Arambulis, Chief of Transit, Michael Kemper, Chief of Housing, Martine Matarazzo, Chief of Interagency Operations, Teresa Tobin, Police Department Chief Chaplain, Rabbi Dr. Alvin Cass, Police Department Assistant Chief Chaplain, Monsignor Robert J. Romano, Deputy Commissioner Strategic Initiatives, Robert Barrows, Deputy Commissioner Management and Budget, Deirdre Snyder, Deputy Commissioner Department Advocate, Paul Gamble, Counsel to the Police Commissioner, Julie Trivedi, Advisor to the Police Commissioner, Oscar Cardenti, and seated in our third row, Executive Officer Personnel Bureau, Deputy Chief Jose Frias, Commanding Officer Support Services Division, Deputy Chief Marlon Laren, Executive Officer Internal Affairs Bureau, Deputy Chief Chris Morello, Executive Officer Intelligence and Counterterrorism Bureau, Assistant Chief John Hart, Commanding Officer Patrol Borough Bronx, Assistant Chief Benjamin Gurley, Commanding Officer Patrol Borough Queens North, Assistant Chief Christine Bestiedenbeck, Commanding Officer Patrol Borough Brooklyn South, Assistant Chief Charles McAvoy, Assistant Commissioner Employee Relations, Kenneth Morgan, Assistant Commissioner Community Affairs Bureau, Alden Foster, the Vice President of the Captain's Endowment Association, Johnny Ramirez, First Vice President of the Lieutenants Benevolent Association, John Beatty, Vice President of the Sergeants Benevolent Association, Edmund Small, and the First Vice President of the Police Benevolent Association, Danny Torelli. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our dais, and we thank them for being here today. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the Police Commissioner of the City of New York, the Honorable Edward Caban.
Good morning, everyone. Mayor Adams, thank you for being here, and thank you for your continued support of the men and women of the NYPD. And to all today's honorees, as well as the families, friends, and colleagues here to take part in the ceremony, welcome to the Police Academy and the NYPD's Medal Day. This is one of the most significant days of the year for our department, a day to honor our heroes, to immortalize those who gave their lives in service to the city, and to recognize the amazing skill, courage, and commitment of some of the greatest law enforcement officers in the world. Today's medal recipients have faced incredibly intense life or death situations, and they answered a question that every cop asks themselves at least once. If that day comes, when that call comes over the radio, how will I respond? Because when you run toward the danger, there is no telling what you'll find when you get there. So you wonder, what would I do during an armed confrontation? What if a violent criminal pulled a gun and started shooting inside a cramped apartment, or on a crowded street, or in the maze of residential backyards? And you ask yourself, how would I react in such a chaotic situation where decisions must be made in an instant, when everything is on the line and people are counting on me? Would I risk my own life to save another? Well, the men and women being honored today definitely answered those questions and more. And they proved to the world what we already knew. The NYPD officers are without a doubt the very best at what they do. Every day the members of this department bravely face the unknown. They are tested and they rise to the occasion. And they do their job with courage and conviction. But they don't do this for praise or for a pat on the back. And they certainly don't do it for a medal. They do it because they are the NYPD. And they will always be there for the people we serve and for each other. So to all of our medal recipients and your families, congratulations and thank you for everything you do for our city and our department. And to the loved ones of those who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to others, thank you for being with us today. You will always be among the most respected and revered members of our police family, and we're so blessed you could join us as we honor these remarkable heroes. They live on through each one of us forever, and we're tremendously proud to continue their vital work. It is a true privilege to be here today among some of the most determined, dedicated, and devoted public servants anywhere. So on behalf of an eternally grateful city, we commend you, we applaud you, and we are so fortunate to call you New York's finest. Thank you, stay safe, and God bless.
And thank you, Commissioner Caban. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Mayor of the City of New York, the Honorable Eric Adams.
Good morning to our honorees and to your families. And I want to particularly thank Assembly Member Berger and Council Member Palladino for being here today and showing out their support for the men and women of the New York City Police Department. Every time I hear our national anthem recited, I cannot help but to reflect on the words that really touch me the most. The rockets, red glare, the bombs burst in the air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Our flag is still here because of the men and women of our law enforcement community across the globe in general, but particularly to those who are members of the New York City Police Department, a department that I served in, my kid brother, and several of my cousins. We know what it is to respond to calls of service. We know what it is to put your life on the line every day, and we know how responsible it must be. And my friend, the Police Commissioner Eddie Caban, touched on it. You're not doing it for the fame and glory, but I had an obligation when I became the mayor January 1st, 2022, to finally give you the salaries that you deserve and to negotiate with your unions to make sure you are able to provide for your family as you protect the families of the city of New York. And at the beginning of my time as mayor, I still see the image over and over again in my head of watching Officer Maura Rivera walk down that hallway and have a person assassinated them in that manner and go into the hospital that evening with then Police Commissioner Keyshawn Sewell and listen to the cries of the families saying over and over again, "Oh my God, tell us it's not true." And one of your honorees today, Detective Salon, going to visit his family and watching him as he responded in such a heroic fashion to make sure that the suspect was not going to take the life of those officers who were responding. But not only the officers of today who are showing their heroic actions, I reflect on my good friend who was paralyzed for many years and almost in a state of coma for many years, watching his son grow up without him. Detective Patterson, shot in the head while on the street, cleaning his car. Suspects, eventually the bullet and the injuries took his life. And then our civilian population, who we're honoring today as well. Christina Naprara, while assisting people crossing the street, her life was taken from her and taken from us. Every day we do this job. No one wakes up in the morning believing the actions that they would take is going to call on them to receive a medal or shield or some form of honor. You do it because it's the right thing to do. Our flag is still here because of the work that we do. And we need to remind ourselves constantly, this is the greatest country on the globe, and this is the greatest city on the globe, New York City. And we sit under the tree of freedom because of the actions that we take all the time, and many have watered that tree with their blood. And we should always remind ourselves, as I tell people over and over again, no one is lining our borders to leave America. They're lining our borders to come in America. We got the best product going, and that product is protected by the men and women of the New York City Police Department. I was proud to serve, and I'm proud to be the mayor of this great city. And to those who we are honoring today, thank you for your work. Thank you for responding when others would have went in the other direction. And to your family members, let's do all that's possible to come home to them every day. My mother, went in my arms when I retired. She did every one of those 22 years with me. Your family members are on patrol with you emotionally every day. Each time they hear something happens to a person in our agency, they hold their breath waiting for the name, never to exhale, because they know even when they hear the name, they lost a member of this agency. We have so much to do in this city, and we have accomplished so much. We will continue to do what is right to make this city continue to be the safest big city in America. That is why we're called the NYPD. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Mayor Adams. The Police Department of the City of New York is honored to present the following medals for conspicuous acts of bravery performed by members of the department, and unit citations recognizing various units in the police department for their exceptional performance during the year of 2023. Our first award is the Department Medal of Honor. This medal is awarded for acts of gallantry and valor at eminent personal hazard to life, with knowledge that the risk involved is above and beyond the call of duty. Will the family of Detective Troy Patterson please step forward? On January 16, 1990, then police officer Troy Patterson was shot and mortally wounded while off duty. At approximately 1740 hours, Officer Patterson was washing his car with a garden hose attached to a fire hydrant in front of Public School Number 3 at 50 Jefferson Avenue in Brooklyn. Unprovoked and without warning, Officer Patterson was approached by 3 individuals. While attempting to rob him at gunpoint, one of the perpetrators opened fire, striking and mortally wounding Police Officer Patterson. Because of his injuries, Police Officer Patterson never regained consciousness. On August 1st, 2016, former Police Commissioner William Bratton promoted Police Officer Patterson to the rank of Detective 3rd grade. Detective Patterson succumbed to his injuries on April 29, 2023. He had graduated from the police academy in 1983 and had served the city of New York for 7 years prior to the events of January 16, 1990. He is survived by his son Troy, Doneth Patterson, granddaughters Tramia Mackenzie and Riley Max, and beloved aunts, uncles, and cousins. Being awarded the Medal of Honor is Detective Troy Patterson, and accepting the medal on his behalf is Helen Canty. Our next award is the Police Combat Cross. The Police Combat Cross is awarded to members of the service who have successfully and intelligently performed an act of extraordinary heroism while engaged in personal combat with an armed adversary under circumstances of eminent personal hazard to life. And then the next award would be the Purple Shield. This medal is awarded to the uniformed members of the service who have suffered extremely serious physical injuries or death, permanent disfigurement, or protracted or permanent impairment of health while performing an official act, either while on or off duty. Will the family of Community Coordinator Christina Naprara please step forward? On October 20th, 2023, at approximately 0800 hours in the confines of the 102 precinct, then school crossing guard Christina Naprara was fatally struck by a dump truck while it was making a right turn onto Atlantic Avenue. The 63-year-old was helping pedestrians cross safely at the intersection of Woodhaven Boulevard and Atlantic Avenue in Queens when the incident occurred. Community Coordinator Naprara served the city of New York with dignity and honor for 13 years. By all accounts, Community Coordinator Naprara cherished her job as an NYPD school crossing guard, said Police Commissioner Caban at a ceremony for Naprara at One Police Plaza in February of 2024. She loved the familiar faces she saw each day, and she loved sharing warm greetings with all the New Yorkers she helped along their daily routes. Importantly, she knew that nothing was more critical or more honorable than keeping our kids safe. And so we praise Christina for her commitment, and we are inspired by her legacy of service, a safer city for our children and a safer job for all crossing guards who protect them. Receiving the Purple Shield is Community Coordinator Christina Naprara, and accepting on her behalf is her daughter, Barbara. Our next award is the Distinguished Service Medal. This medal is awarded to those members of the service who have distinguished themselves by performing exceptionally meritorious service to the police department and the city of New York. This year, it is being awarded to those members of the service who have died as a result of their long-term illnesses associated with performing duties under the unusual hazards and demands in conjunction with the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001. Will the family of Detective Alberto Nieves please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Award is Detective Alberto Nieves, and accepting the award on his behalf is his colleague Hector. Will the family of Detective Maureen O'Flaherty please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Detective Maureen O'Flaherty, and accepting the medal on her behalf is her husband, Vito. Will the family of Police Officer Andrew Quinlan please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Police Officer Andrew Quinlan, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his son, Cameron. Will the family of Sergeant James Garrity please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Sergeant James Garrity, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his daughter, Devon. Will the family of Lieutenant Timothy Coyne please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Lieutenant Timothy Coyne, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his wife, Hillary. Will the family of Assistant Chief James Ward please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Assistant Chief James Ward, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his wife, Mary. Will the family of Detective Francisco De Castro, Jr. please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Award is Detective Francisco De Castro, Jr., and accepting the award on his behalf is his daughter, Jamie. Will the family of Detective Frank Randall, Jr. please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Detective Frank Randall, Jr., and accepting the medal on his behalf is his son, Frank. Will the family of Police Officer Martin Podolsky please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Police Officer Martin Podolsky, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his sister, Ruth. Will the family of Detective John Walker III please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Detective John Walker III, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his daughter, Isabella. Will the family of Lieutenant Anthony Garvey please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Lieutenant Anthony Garvey, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his wife, Edith. Will the family of Deputy Chief Thomas Graham please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Deputy Chief Thomas Graham, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his daughter, Patricia. Will the family of Detective William Keating please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Detective William Keating, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his wife, Lisbeth. Will the family of Detective Ronald Higgins please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Detective Ronald Higgins, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his wife, Debbie. Will the family of Sergeant James Mastrocovo please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Sergeant James Mastrocovo, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his wife, Lorianne. Will the family of Detective Angel Escaretti please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Detective Angel Escaretti, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his wife, Evelyn. Will the family of Detective Eric Kalea please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Detective Eric Kalea, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his wife, Marilyn. Will the family of Detective George Flores please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Detective George Flores, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his granddaughter, Savannah. Will the family of Captain Janelle Sanders please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Captain Janelle Sanders, and accepting the medal on her behalf are her daughters, Madison and Morgan. Will the family of Detective Thomas Lilly please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Detective Thomas Lilly, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his wife, Justina. Will the family of Police Officer Mark Brezak please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Police Officer Mark Brezak, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his wife, Joyce. Will the family of Lieutenant Maureen Gill Donahue please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Lieutenant Maureen Gill Donahue, and accepting the medal on her behalf is her husband, Thomas. Will the family of Police Officer Jordan Silver please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Police Officer Jordan Silver, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his daughter, Megan. Will the family of Police Officer Stephen Darby please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Police Officer Stephen Darby, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his mother, Joan. Will the family of Police Officer Francis Gaynor please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Police Officer Francis Gaynor, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his wife, Lori. Will the family of Lieutenant Michael Predatori please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Lieutenant Michael Predatori, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his brother, Anthony. Will the family of Lieutenant John McArdle please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Lieutenant John McArdle, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his wife, Barbara. Will the family of Detective Harry Staphilis please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Detective Harry Staphilis, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his wife, Ann. Will the family of Detective Victor Vargas please step forward? Awarded the Distinguished Service Medal is Detective Victor Vargas, and accepting the medal on his behalf is his Uncle Perry. The following members are also awarded the Distinguished Service Medal. Unfortunately, their families could not join us today, but their medals will be delivered to them at a later date. They are Lieutenant Ivan Gonzalez, Detective John Ryan, Police Officer Robert Moriadin, Detective Marcos Quinones, Police Officer William Anthony, Police Officer Michael Barnes, Police Officer Donald Cassian Jr., Sergeant Thomas Roche, Lieutenant Zachary Slavin, Detective Nicholas Halvovinsky, and Detective James McCormick. Our next recipient is receiving the Medal of Honor. Will Detective Sumit Salan please step forward? On January 21st, 2022, then Police Officer Sumat Salan and then Police Officers Wilbert Mora and Jason Rivera were assigned to Sector David on a 4x12 shift in the 3-2 precinct. At approximately 17:09 hours, the officers responded to a family dispute on West 135th Street. Officers met with the female complainant in the apartment, who stated to the officers that she had been having a dispute with her son. Officers Mora and Rivera navigated a narrow hallway to the back bedroom to retrieve the perpetrator. On their way down the hallway, the perpetrator emerged from the room, holding a firearm with a supported grip, and began shooting at the officers. With Officers Mora and Rivera struck by gunfire and the perpetrator continuing to advance to commit further violence, Officer Salon discharged his firearm twice, striking and gravely wounding the perpetrator. Officer Salon transmitted a shots fired call over the radio to alert responding officers. Officers Mora and Rivera were rushed to Harlem Hospital, but later sadly succumbed to their injuries. A Glock 21 45 caliber pistol equipped with a 40-round drum magazine with 9 live cartridges was recovered at the scene. Receiving the Medal of Honor is Detective Sumit Salon. Our next recipients are receiving the Police Combat Cross. Will Sergeant William Matthews please step forward? On June 21st, 2014, 110 Precinct Sergeant William Matthews was on routine patrol when he observed a male being chased by another male with a firearm on Lamont Avenue. Sergeant Matthews quickly exited his RMP with this firearm drawn, demanding the male to drop his weapon. The perpetrator turned around and fired a shot at the sergeant, prompting Sergeant Matthews to return fire. Neither the sergeant nor the perpetrator was struck. The perpetrator continued to flee and avoided apprehension that day, although a .22 caliber Ruger handgun was recovered at the corner of Lamont Avenue and Glean Street. After further investigation by the 110 Detective Squad, the perpetrator, a known gang member, was positively ID'd by Sergeant Matthews. The perpetrator was arrested and charged with 2 counts of aggravated attempted murder of a police officer. He was later found guilty and received a sentence of 35 years in prison. Receiving the Police Combat Cross is Sergeant William Matthews. Will Detective Daniel Vargas please step forward? On January 26, 2021, then police officer Daniel Vargas, along with other members of the Gun Violence Suppression Division, were conducting surveillance in their RMPs in the confines of the 4-3 precinct. At approximately 22:35 hours, the officers observed a man walking northbound on White Plains Road toward Lafayette Avenue, carrying a small drawstring bag containing an item consistent with the shape of a firearm. When the man noticed the officers, he immediately changed his direction and reached into the bag, pulling out what appeared to be a firearm. Officer Vargas exited his RMP to approach the male subject, who fled on foot, while other uniformed colleagues continued to pursuit of the gunman in their vehicle. The gunman positioned himself on a sidewalk in a shooting stance with his gun drawn, waiting to ambush Officer Vargas. Upon seeing him, the perpetrator fired 4 shots, striking Officer Vargas in his abdomen below his vest. Despite being wounded and heavily bleeding, Officer Vargas returned fire. The assisting officers exited their vehicles, ran towards the shots fired, and apprehended the armed perpetrator. The officers on the scene also rendered immediate aid to Officer Vargas, who was then taken to Jacoby Medical Center, where he was treated. At the scene of the crime, officers recovered a loaded .38 caliber revolver. The perpetrator was charged with attempted murder of a police officer, first degree, criminal possession of a loaded firearm, and other related offenses. Receiving the Police Combat Cross is Detective Daniel Vargas. Will Lieutenant Michael Pomerantz, Detective Nelson Pabon, Detective Christopher Welch, and retired Detective Leslie Garvin please step forward? On Friday, November 18, 2022, members assigned to the New York Drug Enforcement Strike Force conducted a narcotics enforcement operation within the confines of the 3-4 precinct. At approximately 20:40 hours, Strike Force members entered the lobby of 72 Vermilion Avenue to effect an arrest relating to a long-term narcotics investigation. Shortly after entering the building, the officers observed an apartment with its front door open and men inside. Detective Nelson Paban, along with 2 other law enforcement agents, entered the apartment announcing their presence as police. Detective Paban then tried to arrest one male perpetrator who was physically resisting and in the possession of a firearm. As the struggle ensued, a second male perpetrator attempted to flee further into the apartment while producing a firearm from his person. The second perpetrator proceeded to fire multiple shots in the direction of the members of the service, prompting Detective Paban, Lieutenant Michael Pomerantz, Detective Christopher Welch, and Detective Leslie Garvin to return fire. After an exchange of gunfire, officers were able to remove the still physically resisting perpetrator from the apartment to safety. Officers then discovered that the second perpetrator had died from gunshot wounds. The officers called for backup with the shots fired transmission over division radio. The Strike Force team kept cover of the apartment door until the arrival of emergency service unit personnel. Lieutenant Pomerantz, Detective Garvin, Detective Welch, and Detective Paban were all removed from the scene and taken to St. Luke's Hospital for examination, where they were treated and later released. The first perpetrator was arrested and successfully prosecuted. 2 firearms, including 1 ghost gun, were recovered. Receiving the Police Combat Cross are Lieutenant Michael Pomerantz, Detective Nelson Paban, Detective Christopher Welch, and retired Detective Leslie Garvin. The next incident involves officers receiving the Police Combat Cross as well as the Medal for Valor. The Medal for Valor is awarded to members of the department for acts of outstanding personal bravery, intelligently performed in the line of duty, and at eminent personal hazard to life under circumstances evincing a disregard of personal consequences. Will Lieutenant Daniel Berardi, Detective Frank Hernandez, Sergeant Arthur McCarthy, Detective Jeffrey Goris, Detective Diana Grillo, Police Officer Jonathan Cancel, Police Officer Denzel D'Souza, Police Officer Jody Schellenberg, and retired Detective Christopher Callow, please step forward. On September 2nd, 2019, Sergeant Arthur McCarthy, then Police Officer Frank Hernandez, and then Police Officer Jeffrey Goris were assigned to the 7-3 Precinct Juve Detail. At approximately 01:30 hours, while conducting patrol in uniform and in an unmarked department vehicle, the officers attempted to stop a man suspected of carrying a firearm. As Officer Hernandez exited the RMP, the man fled on foot. Officer Hernandez proceeded to engage the man in a foot pursuit, while Sergeant McCarthy and Officer Goris followed closely behind in the unmarked RMP. During the pursuit, the man turned towards the automobile, produced a firearm from his waistband, and fired several rounds in its direction. After observing the actions of the gunman, Officer Hernandez discharged several rounds from his service weapon towards the perpetrator, who in turn fired his weapon at Officer Hernandez before fleeing the scene. Sergeant McCarthy requested over the radio a full search of the area within close proximity to the incident. Cooperating with the canvass request, then Sergeant Daniel Berardi and then Police Officer Diana Grillo, who were performing patrol duties for the 7-5 precinct, observed the gunman in the backyard of a nearby building. The perpetrator immediately fired several rounds at Sergeant Berardi upon sight, who returned fire. The perpetrator retreated from his position, and following another foot pursuit, Detective Christopher Callow discovered the gunman, who shielded his body behind a shed in an adjacent yard and aimed a firearm in Detective Callow's direction. In response, Detective Callow discharged several rounds from his firearm towards the threat. At the same time, police officers Jody Schellenberg, Jonathan Cancel, and Denzel D'Souza who were performing patrol duties in the 7-5 precinct and assisting in the search for the gunman, observed the suspect aim his weapon in the direction of Detective Callow and discharge several rounds from each of their service weapons. The perpetrator was taken into custody and transported to an area hospital. He did not survive his injuries. 2 semi-automatic handguns were recovered from the scene. Additionally, it was discovered that the perpetrator had planted an improvised explosive device at the scene, which was disarmed and recovered by the bomb squad. Receiving the Police Combat Cross are Lieutenant Daniel Barotti and Detective Frank Hernandez. And receiving the Medal for Valor are Sergeant Arthur McCarthy, Detective Jeffrey Goris, Detective Diana Grillo, Police Officer Jonathan Cancel, Police Officer Denzel D'Souza, Police Officer Jody Schellenberg, and retired Police Officer Christopher Callow. Will former Police Officer Angel Baeza and Police Officer Giselle Peralta please step forward? On November 2nd, 2021, at approximately 09:13 hours, Police Officer Angel Baeza and Police Officer Giselle Peralta were assigned in uniform to Sector Charlie in the 4-1 precinct when they received a radio run of a robbery in progress on East 163rd Street. Upon arriving at the scene, the officers met with the complainant, who stated an unknown perpetrator entered the store demanding money while displaying a firearm. Officer Peralta transmitted the perp's description over the radio and requested additional units to canvass the surrounding area. While preparing her report, Officer Peralta observed an individual matching the description of the perpetrator walking on East 163rd Street. The officers exited their RMP and attempted to apprehend the perpetrator. After a brief foot pursuit on Fox Street, the perpetrator fired 3 shots at the officers. Officer Baeza fired 3 rounds back at the perpetrator. In an attempt to flee the scene, the perpetrator ran and hid underneath the vehicle on Simpson Street. The officers located him, and he was subsequently arrested. A Taurus .357 revolver was recovered at the scene, and further investigation revealed the perpetrator was responsible for 3 other commercial robberies that same day. Receiving the Police Combat Cross is former Police Officer Angel Baeza, and receiving the Medal for Valor is Police Officer Giselle Peralta. Will Detective Steve Tirado and Detective Angelica Torres please step forward? On November 7, 2021, at approximately 20:15 hours, then police officers Steve Tirado and Angelica Torres, along with other MOS, were assigned to patrol in the confines of the 3-3 precinct when they received a radio run for shots fired inside Riverside Park. The officers responded to the location and located a complainant who stated that a male with a firearm had shot at him. The officers immediately began to conduct a canvass with the complainant, who provided a detailed description of the suspect. After observing an individual who matched the description, the officers quickly noticed that the said individual had a firearm in his right hand. The officers gave multiple verbal warnings to drop the firearm, but the suspect refused to comply. The man began pacing back and forth with the firearm in his hand, when Officers Tirado and Torres each discharged their firearms, striking the individual, preventing any further incident. The officers then remanded medical aid to the perpetrator until the arrival of EMS. Receiving the Medal for Valor are Detective Steve Tirado and Detective Angelica Torres. Will Lieutenant Cesar Gomez, Sergeant Anthony Stable, and Police Officer Derek Rivera please step forward? On October 16, 2022, at approximately 02:57 hours, Lieutenant Cesar Gomez, then Police Officer Anthony Stable, and Police Officer Derek Rivera were conducting routine patrol as part of the neighborhood safety team in the 3-4 precinct when they encountered a group of individuals fighting in the vicinity of Nagle Avenue and Dyckman Street. Lieutenant Gomez observed one of the males fighting to be in possession of a firearm. The officers quickly exited their vehicle, drew their firearms, and gave clear verbal commands to the man to drop the gun. The perpetrator ignored the officer's numerous commands and continued his physical struggle with the male on the ground until a single shot rang out. At that point, Lieutenant Gomez, then Police Officer Stable, and Police Officer Rivera fired multiple times towards the subject to protect themselves and civilians, including the man on the ground, from serious physical injury. After the perpetrator dropped to the ground, Lieutenant Gomez and then Police Officer Stable approached the perpetrator and removed a loaded black Ruger 9mm pistol from him before placing him into custody. The perpetrator later died of his injuries, and the officers also encountered another individual who had been shot by the perpetrator with a graze wound to the head. Additional units and multiple ambulances arrived on scene to safely transport all involved. Receiving the Medal for Valor are Lieutenant Cesar Gomez, Sergeant Anthony Stable, and Police Officer Derek Rivera. Our final presentations today are the awarding of unit citations to those commands which provided a sustained high level of service to the people of the City of New York during the year of 2023. The NYPD has long been acknowledged as one of the premier law enforcement agencies in the world. This reputation has been forged by the hard work, efforts, and diligence of all the department's members. Yet, as exceptional as all our personnel are, there are some units within the department each year who must be acknowledged for extraordinary achievements. These achievements are represented in a variety of unique ways and include remarkable crime reductions, innovations that enable everyday operations to run more smoothly, and the promotion of goodwill and cooperation with the general public. Accordingly, a unit citation is awarded to the following commands. Accepting the unit citation for the 2-5 precinct is Commanding Officer Deputy Inspector Raul Masonette. Accepting the unit citation for the 7-3 precinct is the Commanding Officer Captain Odell Despot. Accepting the unit citation for Police Service Area 1 is the Commanding Officer, Captain Carl George. Accepting the unit citation for Transit District 4 is the Commanding Officer, Captain Joe Pulgarin. Accepting the unit citation for the 113th Precinct Detective Squad is the Commanding Officer, Lieutenant Sean Finnegan. Accepting the unit citation for the Aviation Unit is the Executive Officer, Captain Rory Mangra. Accepting the unit citation for the Brooklyn South Homicide Squad is the Commanding Officer, Lieutenant Sean Collins. Accepting the unit citation for the citywide pickpocket unit is the commanding officer, Lieutenant Jonathan Cedeno. Accepting the unit citation for the citywide traffic task force is the commanding officer, Captain Justin Marzin. Accepting the unit citation for the Information Technology Bureau is Chief of Information Technology, Ruben Beltran. Accepting the unit citation for the Operations Division is the commanding officer, Deputy Chief Matthew Galvin. Accepting the unit citation for the Patrol Borough Bronx Auto Larceny Unit is the commanding officer, Lieutenant Jonathan Rivera. Accepting the unit citation for the Special Victims Unit is the commanding officer, Deputy Chief Carlos Ortiz. Accepting the unit citation for the Strategic Response Group is the commanding officer, Deputy Chief John Diadamo. And accepting the unit citation for the Traffic Enforcement District is the commanding officer, Inspector Brian O'Sullivan. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a round of applause for all our medal recipients. And now I'm going to ask everyone to rise for the benediction by Police Department Assistant Chief Chaplain, Monsignor Robert J. Romano.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we have come here together today to honor the finest of the finest. As we bestow these medals upon these heroes of our department, we ask you to bless them for all that they have done and will continue to do each day to make our city a safer place to live. Be with them and protect them in all they do. Bless the other heroes of this day, their families, their spouses, children, and parents, for all the sacrifices they make for their loved ones' careers. Bless our mayor and police commissioner and all the members of the New York City Police Department, uniformed and civilian, the other heroes of this day who protect us day in and day out. Watch over them on and off duty. Lord, the history of this department is chronicled by the names of our beloved dead that are emblazoned on the memorial tablets in the lobby of One Police Plaza. They paid the ultimate sacrifice, and the living heroes of today continually walk proudly in their legacy. May we as a city be proud and blessed for the men and women who serve us by wearing the uniform of the greatest police department in the world. May God bless our honorees. May God bless our city. May God bless the NYPD. And as always, may God bless the United States of America. Amen.
Thank you, Monsignor Romano. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing and join us in the singing of God Bless America, led by Police Officer Jonathan Perez.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Thank you, Officer Perez. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our Medal Day ceremony. On behalf of Police Commissioner Caban, I'd like to thank you all for joining us. We ask that you please remain seated at this time as the medal recipients march out for the photograph with the Commissioner. Afterwards, we invite you to join us downstairs for the luncheon. Please have a pleasant day and a safe trip home. Thank you.